when Jesus says, Abraham saw my day and was glad, well, this is the moment in time where Abraham will actually have gladness, because this is where God reconfirms his promise that this son is coming. He strengthens the faith of both Abraham and Sarah, knowing that, yes, I've made a promise to you, but I'm coming back to remind you that plan that I have for you and Sarah through the birth of Isaac is 100% in play. And so that's why it becomes kind of an interesting text for us, because, it feels from at least the English translation that it's two angels, and I guess in some Hebrew traditions maybe it's the angel of the Lord who becomes
so the angel of the Lord is just a figure that appears in the biblical text.
Yeah, and he'll reappear, the angel of the Lord,
yeah.
In Jacob's story, but he becomes this figure that's mysterious and seems to have obviously a greater authority than that of these other two angels. Also, when we kind of track through the text, we know that when we have two angels now going into Sodom and Gomorrah. So we're like, okay, so if it was just three angels, what did the third angel do? And it kind of fits in with the back end of that narrative where we have God having this conversation, where we also see a moment of time where Abraham is now given this new role, this new position of almost a prophet to intercede on behalf of the people of Sodom, and the mercy of God, which we'll find, after the promise that he gives it, you're going to have a son. And then we have this moment of time where now Abraham is like, how is your reputation going to be upheld as a merciful God if you're going to destroy all of Sodom and Gomorrah? And then we have this sort of back and forth with Abraham, unpacking this idea, well, what happens if there's like 50 righteous people? Surely you wouldn't kill them. And then, we find Abraham maybe thinking for a moment, going, Sodom, 50, let's go 45, what about 30, 30, and then we obviously get down to 10, which again opens up a series of interesting questions. What's amazing about the Bible, and one of the other things I love about it, is it so often leaves the reader with questions to ask, right? Like, why didn't Abraham work all his way down to 1?
Right.
Why not? Why did he stop at 10?
Yeah.
Was Abraham confident that surely there's at least 10 good people in Sodom? Surely there's got to be 10, and that's the number I'm confident with. Now we're good, 10. Or was it something to do with the fact that he's asked 6 times and he didn't want to go to the 7th time? But in that exchange between Abraham and God, we see God willing to work with humanity, and it's almost like you start asking the question: is this Abraham's ability to influence God, or is this God showing humanity that we actually have an opportunity to inject into the story? Like, okay, if there's 50, I'll do it. Oh no, if there's 40, okay, I'll do it. If and it almost shows in a way that God's saying, I'm willing to partner with humanity.
Yes.
If you're willing to come alongside with me and know my character, know my nature, and know that, well, it's not like Abraham said, well, you shouldn't destroy any of them.
And by the way, that's the interesting thing here is, I mean, we take for granted how absurd this moment is. God, pretty important character in the Bible, right? Yeah. So God comes out, and also God, notoriously in charge of everything, right? So God comes and says, I'm going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Put yourself in Abraham's shoes. You're sitting there, and the Almighty, the God of the universe, the omnipotent God, is before you and says, I, God, have determined that Sodom and Gomorrah need to be destroyed. I mean, my response, maybe just speaking for myself, but my response would be like, okay, yeah, I'm like, what am I supposed to say? You're God.
Yeah, and he's revealed his omniscience. Yeah, with Sarah laughing and thinking to herself, how is this even possible?
Right.
So he's already kind of
done the impossible. Yeah, and promised the impossible.
Yeah, promised the impossible. I'm doing all these things. They've had a moment of good news, and now he's kind of presented this bad news.
Yeah.